Well, good morning and welcome to the Cincinnati Chamber's second monthly member briefing. We thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Spencer Mapes. I'm a program manager at the Chamber, and we are just so excited that you are here with us to hear some great content from the Chamber, from the Cincinnati Zoo, from 4 great member organizations. And these sessions are designed to provide our Chamber members with the information, solutions, and connections needed to keep your business thriving. You've joined us in listen-only mode, so your cameras and microphones are muted. But if you do have questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat box or the Q&A, and we will answer them. We have a great keynote speaker today, and I am going actually to kick it over to our president and CEO, Jill Meyer from the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber. So Jill, floor is yours.
Thank you, Spencer. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our monthly member briefing. I was just thinking back to the month that has passed between our first one of these and today, and what a month, huh? Things have certainly changed in the past 4 weeks and for the better. And I'll zip forward to what yesterday was supposed to be for all of us with reopening day. You may have seen that we partnered with the Reds to help sell tens of thousands of tickets to infuse some new energy both back into the ballpark as well as into our local economy. Unfortunately, Mother Nature did not want to play ball, so we will rebound. We're never dampened, even when regular opening day is joined with some rain. But we do have big celebration ahead with orders being lifted. Our pandemic is retreating. I'll say that carefully. But that's because vaccines are on the uptake, and that is really positive. And I hope for you, things are starting to feel a little bit like life again. I will not say normal because I don't think anybody knows what that means anymore, but life is beginning to happen all around us, and that is really a positive thing. We have just a couple of minutes before I get to introduce our speaker. And I wanted to share a couple of things. One, thank you for being here. I'll remind you that we've created this free monthly benefit to help introduce you to leaders, to businesses, to newsmakers throughout the community who are really driving our economy and are otherwise at the center of our community. So our goal is that in this short hour together, you'll learn something new. You'll maybe go deeper into our robust and learn about how diverse our economy is. And maybe you'll understand some things that your chamber is doing for you and for the business community that maybe you don't have direct visibility into on a regular basis. But we want your feedback and we want these to be meaningful for you. So please continue to send your feedback so that we can make these what you want. One note that you may have seen is that culminating last month, early May, our team had been working diligently to defeat issue 3 in the city of Cincinnati. If you paid attention to it, you know it was a bad for business and a bad for budgets charter amendment that was proposed related to housing. It would have led to big police and fire cuts to basic city services, as well as a steep tax increase, none of which is good for a growing and particularly a rebounding economy. The Cincinnati Chamber, I'm proud to tell you, was a driving part of a broad and really diverse coalition to beat this just ill-conceived proposal back. In early May, you may have seen that issue failed. And while there absolutely is plenty to talk about in the housing arena, that proposal was not a good one. So we will continue to talk about housing, but we will make sure we do it in a responsible way that solves problems and doesn't create new ones. Like many of you on the home front, it is graduation season here at the Cincinnati Chamber. Leadership Cincinnati, We Lead, Sea Change, Cincy Next. Our leadership classes have all graduated. You can imagine what this past year of leadership classes have been. It has been a combination of virtual and human and a lot of patience. But I think we had some really positive growth experiences. If you've done these programs, you know how meaningful that personal and community growth is for everyone in the class. And that happened again, COVID or no COVID. Later this summer, we will be announcing the new leaders coming into the Leadership Cincinnati and We Lead programs and Sea Change and Cincy Next have just kicked off. So stay tuned to hear more about the folks participating in those courses. We will hear a bit more from our government affairs team later, but now I want to move on to introduce our friend at the Chamber for sure, Thane Maynard, who I have to say has the coolest job in the city, hands down. Like all of you, Thane has had a challenging year, but I would dare to say he's had a unique challenge. To start, there's nobody who enjoys interacting with and seeing people exploring the zoo more than Thane does. And the pandemic, like all of our businesses, seriously restricted the Cincinnati Zoo's ability to have folks wandering around and exploring the zoo. That in turn, as you can imagine, made every aspect of keeping our phenomenal zoo thriving. You can't furlough the animals when revenue gets light. So Thane had to find a way to keep those animals fed and healthy, to maintain their spaces and the whole park, and to keep kids and families engaged. Side note, I might add, they did so well, and I hope Thane shares some, but the home safari, for any of those who, like I, have small children at home, not only did they kept the Cincinnati Zoo in our homes, but they kept Cincinnati in homes around the world. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. But he did all of that, and Thane still managed to move forward with some of the exciting new projects that are upcoming at the zoo still. The Elephant Reserve is one, and the other one, which again involves my very active 8-year-old, involves the Rue Valley and some unique climbing ability that we will all have there. So we're eager to hear about that. But we've asked Thane here today not to talk about the animals. I know there will be some Fiona, there always is and should be. We love Fiona. But we asked Thane to talk about what it was like to lead the zoo, the business of the zoo, during the past year, during this pandemic that challenged all of us. So we're eager to hear his comments. I encourage you to put your questions in the Q&A or the chat. I'll tell you, I prefer the Q&A, so I'll get to those first if it matters. But without further ado, please welcome the longtime and really well-loved Chief Executive of our Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden, the host of the 90-Second Naturalist on NPR, and really our friend and emissary to the world, Thane Maynard. The floor is yours. Thank you so much for being with us.
Jill, thank you. And thanks everybody for joining in. It has been a challenging year, but a rewarding one in lots of ways. People throughout our community certainly supported the zoo when we were closed, in particular a year ago. And as Jill said, thanks to social media, people from around the world did as well. A little bit of the backcast is, it was the first time the Cincinnati Zoo had been closed since the flu pandemic of 1918 and 1919. And we were closed for 3 months under the governor's orders. When we look back at the history, it was like looking in a mirror, because during that pandemic, people all over town, bitched like crazy and went down to City Hall. This is 1918, right? And said, you got to open the bars, you got to open the churches, what's going wrong? And eventually they were able to get out of that one. And this time, thanks to vaccines, we were able to get out of it quicker than anybody thought. But you can imagine, I'm sure the same sorts of things happened at your businesses last year. When we were closed, all of a sudden on March 15th, we really didn't know what the future was going to look like. We didn't know it would only be 3 months. And we thought, boy, if this ends up being a year, we would go broke fast, because though we had to make a lot of cuts, we did cut some staff. We cut all our part-time staff, because folks that are part-time typically are here because we have big crowds. But even with that, we could only get our spend down to $2.5 million a month, which is a $30 million budget, compared to previously it was going to be a $48 million budget. Well, when you don't have much income coming in, $30 million is something that's really a big hill to climb. But we were able to make that through, partly with support from the Cincinnati Zoo Foundation that monitors our endowment, partly through a PPP loan through the federal government, and largely through support from this community. Many, many people joined or rejoined the zoo with their membership, saying, we're with you, we know you're going to open, and we want to make sure you're there and healthy when we come back. And so the fact that people love to be outside anyway, and if there's anything we learned during the pandemic, people really love to be outdoors. And some of that was here at the Cincinnati Zoo, but also at other parks. I know my wife and I, a year ago, every afternoon, would go to a City of Cincinnati park or a Hamilton County park and other open areas. I've lived here a long time, but we discovered parks that we'd never been to before. And some of them are just hidden gems. If you've not been to Caldwell Nature Preserve on North Bend Road, it'll blow you away. It's 100 acres that time forgot. It has beech trees that are gigantic, as well as the biggest group of pawpaw trees that I've seen in this area. So there's a lot to do outdoors, and the zoo was able to thrive during that. We did have to restrict our visitation. People had to get tickets ahead of time online. It was the first time we've ever done that. There was a lot of pushback, and as things went along, up until relatively recently, there was a lot of pushback about restrictions such as masks, just like you hear it, whether it's the grocery store or wherever. People would sometimes have one of two opinions. And we learn a lot of this today, of course, by Facebook. Years and years ago, when we wanted to find what zoo visitors thought, we had to do surveys, and we had kids with clipboards and ask questions. And now, you just look in the evening on Facebook and people tell you what they think. There's no doubt about it. So prior to the pandemic, our top 3 complaints were parking, parking, and parking. Because over the last 10 years, the zoo's grown to be the biggest attraction in the city of Cincinnati and the biggest attraction in Hamilton County. And to pull that off right in the heart of the city has some challenges, and we've worked on growing our parking. Obviously, during the pandemic, that was not a problem with reduced crowds. The upside to that is things like Festival of Lights. For the very first time, there was not, parking problems, traffic problems, and people had an enjoyable time. With the lifting of the mandates, and we're back to people coming to the zoo, we still have some small restrictions, but people aren't complaining as much about either too many restrictions or too few restrictions. Once the weather changes from this rain to this weekend, when it's nice, our complaints will be back to parking. But that's an ongoing challenge for any attraction that's right in the middle of the city. And people know that, whether that's OTR or others. Before I ramble on more about the zoo, I do also want to thank the Chamber, both for inviting me. My old friend Amy Thompson asked, I think the world of Jill, and the zoo's proud to be a member and a participant in a lot of programs with the Chamber. It's not your grandfather's chamber, it's not. I'm proud to be a member of Class 17 from Leadership Cincinnati. And over those many years from then to now, there's a very dynamic activity and programs through the Chamber, really leaders on diversity and inclusion within our businesses, which is important, and a real leader on sustainability as well. I know many of the programs come out here and meet with our team to talk about sustainability, because we're proud to be recognized as the greenest zoo in America and to share that story. And the premise of it is, if it can work in Cincinnati, it can work anywhere. Everybody thinks Portland and Seattle are green. Well, they have something that the Midwest is more practical about, which is they have a lot of money and they pour it all over their green stuff. Here, we've proved you can go green, do the right thing, and actually save money on your water and on your energy. And also, in our case, since we're open to the public, be a good demonstration of how to make it work. So it's a neat partnership really throughout our region, and we're delighted to be in it. We really are. Anyway, so as we went through the year, there were lots of ups and downs, many, many concerns. You might know some people that are zookeepers. The love and care and concern they have for their animals is unbelievable. It is more like the way you feel about your children than the way you feel about your dog. We all love our dogs, but to some degree you say that dog can take care of itself. Well, keepers don't feel that way. They feel they are the one group that are going to protect these animals that are in our care. And so there was a lot of freak out about how do we make sure that our animals stay safe? How do we do that once we reopen to the public? And it required a lot of planning. And when you visited the zoo, even now, you'll see some areas where we put up temporary barriers in front of species that are potentially at risk. That includes all the primates, including, of course, the great apes that are closely related to us, but the other primates as well, and all the predators. So the cats, but also medium-sized predators like meerkats, and a variety, even skunks that we have in our education programs. I'm sure everybody on the call is vaccinated, but if you have a crazy uncle who says he's suddenly an expert on epidemiology and doesn't trust it, this is the story you can tell him. The most cautious person at the Cincinnati Zoo by a mile is our chief veterinarian, Mark Campbell. He does not make any moves lightly. They're not only considered, but heavily networked and researched with other vets and he is vaccinating our animals. We're working with UC Davis and the San Diego Zoo. We've gotten 180 doses for all the primates and all the carnivores at the zoo. And if it's good enough for the meerkats and Doc Campbell, it's good enough for your uncle. So you can tell him he can take that to the bank. Vaccines are, in fact, what are getting us out of this thing. So that's a great thing. And if you don't think so, go down to the banks, OTR, Washington Park, or Finley Market this Saturday and Sunday when the sun's out, and you'll see that Cincinnati's back open. So it's a better year than anyone imagined 1 year ago. So here's to that. Other things that we had to do at the zoo is curtail many of our programs. Things like our shows, you know, our cat show where we run the cheetah, the bird show, the children's zoo show, anywhere where people gathering too tight, we had to control that. But thankfully those are back this summer. So we're good to go as far as that goes. Other things that were tough were our events that are important fundraisers to the zoo, like Zoofari and Zoo La La and our wine tastings. Those had to be curtailed. But when the closure hit last spring, many of those were already underway, even though they weren't going to be until summer or fall. So we had virtual events, and many of them were drive-through. And I will tell you a charming Cincinnati thing. All of our sponsors and all of the people that had bought tables, now some of them might have spent $50 for an event, some have spent $10,000 for an event. They stuck with us. They said, we know you're in a tough time, let's do it. And we would offer drive-through Zoofari, and people pull through the parking lot. We'd hand them a bag with a couple of bottles of wine and some other gifts, and we'd be good to go. You couldn't do that year after year, but it was really something. In terms of support, the Cincinnati Zoo is fortunate. You know, Cincinnati is a very philanthropic town. I think we all know that. We punch way above our weight, I think, in terms of our cultural institutions, the arts, the sciences, the things that we do here really are remarkable. And I think it's based on a very long tradition. You know, many towns that are wonderful towns, Indy, Columbus, don't have the long tradition of those sorts of institutions that we have here. So that's a neat thing. And there's great community support for them. And that's true year after year for all these groups. And it was certainly true for the zoo last year. Foundations that we often work with, but frankly, you know, not need to chase after them to see if we could apply for support. They called us and said, we know it's tough times, send us a letter and tell us what you need. And that went on throughout Cincinnati and was important to us and how we made it through. Jill mentioned that through social media, we didn't just reach this region, we reached absolutely everywhere with our home safaris and of course with Fiona. And we learned how to make sure if people are watching it and loving it, they can punch a button and give $1. And a lot of support came that way. But our members, which are people from our region that joined the zoo, really carried us. You know, general admissions obviously was way down last year, part of it being closed, part of the time, and with restrictions. But membership sales were as strong as ever. So that was important to us, I can certainly say. Now, I do want to say one thing. The working daily motto at the zoo is that we are here to inspire every visitor with wildlife every day. We don't want people to come to the zoo and just walk through and say, well, you know, I saw some tulips, but it wasn't much fun. We want people to have a chance to see animals up close or to see cheetahs run or eagles fly. And I figured nobody's loving Zoom calls these days. And especially, I don't want you to say later, yeah, I did this thing and this old guy was rambling on about the zoo. I want you to say, but you know what was cool is he brought an animal. So I brought my favorite animal. His name is Cruncher. And Cruncher is a 1-year-old baby American alligator. He lives in our reptile house. We also have alligators in our Manatee Springs, Florida exhibit. And you might know if you ever get down to the south, not just Florida, but from North Carolina all the way around to Texas, gators have made a big comeback. I went on a canoe trip in North Florida in February, and I saw more alligators in 4 days than I saw in my entire youth growing up in Florida. And I spent my whole youth outdoors. Alligators were very endangered 60 years ago, but they were protected by the Endangered Species Act in '73, and they are back. There's more than 3 million alligators in the state of Florida. The plan of the Florida natives is once they get to about 10 million where they used to be, it'll chase a lot of the folks back to Connecticut and New Jersey. So we'll see if that works. Anyway, Cruncher's a phenomenal animal. Of course, a great swimmer. I don't know if you heard him give a little call, he kind of goes, and he was doing that. That's what he would do even at this size, to call his mom and say she should come over and make sure this big guy's not hurting him. And the moms stick with the babies, unlike any other reptiles, because they don't want the dads to eat them. But most reptiles never even see their babies. Anyway, Cruncher's the man. You can see him at our reptile building. Whoop. And there you go. Anyway, I don't know if we want to go to questions now or how you want to handle it, but happy to take some.
Awesome, Thane, thank you. I think I speak for everybody when I say I did a little jump when that little gator came this way. So I'm guessing everybody else did too. We have one question teed up already, and I would encourage others to pop them in there now if you have them in our few minutes of Q&A here. Then the first question is there any plan to continue the YouTube Zoofari?
Well, we have a big social media presence. It really is something. It's the sort of thing, and I think a lot of businesses have this, it just is our experience. If 10 years ago we had said we would reach this many people, you know, with people that regularly look at our Facebook every day and Instagram and Twitter and all the things we do, YouTube, we wouldn't have believed it, really. I mean, I'm old enough. I remember we used to sit around and say, I don't know, should we buy a black and white ad in the Inquirer on the day before Easter, that kind of thing. And now we put something out and it literally instantly reaches many millions of people. So social media is a big part of how we get our message out. And I'll be honest, sure, a lot of that is baby Fiona, who is a world phenom. There's no doubt about it. We have some people visiting this weekend from overseas who waited until things were open so they could come meet Fiona. But beyond that, you know, what's neat is there's a lot of ability to send out substance as well. So we'll send out links to our conservation programs where the zoo's involved all over the world with protecting Asian elephants in North India or Sumatran rhinos in Indonesia. And, you know, it's a great way to put out substance as well as fun. So it's inspirational and hopefully some content as well. So we will continue that. And of course, we have a lot of followers on YouTube as well. There's a funny story, which is not only is the zoo recognized as the greenest zoo, which irritates the tar out of my friends from places like Seattle and San Francisco and Portland, because they view us out in the Rust Belt and we don't even know what green is. And when we tell them we save money on it, their hair goes on fire, I'll tell you, because that's a Midwest thing, not a West Coast thing. Well, similarly, our social media and the sort of reach it has surpasses any other zoo by a mile. And that includes the San Diego Zoo. And you can trust me, that irritates the tar out of the San Diego Zoo. So what does that mean? Well, our budget this year, still coming out of a pandemic, is about $35 million. But as I'd said, last year was going to be 48. The San Diego Zoo's budget is nearly $500 million a year. It's a big organization. It's like Ohio State compared to Xavier. They spend more on paid advertising than our entire budget to make sure that we've all heard of the San Diego Zoo. And they can't even touch us on social media, and it drives them nuts. It really does. But we're fortunate. Cincinnati's a zoo town. People love this zoo. You can go down to Fountain Square and ask anybody, you know about any zoo animals? And they'll tell you. They know not just Fiona, they know Rico, the porcupine, they know the whole team. And so it's a sweet thing, and social media is a good way to get the message out. But just like watching wildlife documentaries are great, it's not the same as seeing the real thing. And so we're pleased that people are coming back to the zoo, and crowds are good.
Thane, I want to go a level deeper on what you were just talking about, knowing how important the zoo is to not just our community, but to our economy, and being, you know, a leader in the tourism segment of that economy. Can you share a little bit about how you at the zoo, how do you measure those statistics? And in particular, with this new, maybe it's not new, but maybe new latest brush of international attention being paid attention to the zoo and others, maybe some silver linings in those efforts that the zoo could bring into its future by drawing visitors from elsewhere. Can you share a little bit about how you and your team navigate that whole tourism aspect?
Well, it's been a learning curve, to be honest, for us. And Fiona did take us to sort of a great leap forward, both in interest and attendance. It was so funny, the year she was born in 2017 in January, and that year was just a monster year. We had almost 2 million visitors then, and lowered down the next year to about 1.8. But the general manager of the Hampton Inn over by UC on MLK called a number of times during the year and said, man, thanks for all these customers, because when you looked online, it was the easiest hotel to stay in that's quite near the zoo. So, you never know the impact she has. As I always joked, she's the only animal we've ever had who's paid her own way. So here's to that. But, reaching people farther away, coming to our zoo has been very heartening. It really has. Zoos nationwide are in the midst of a renaissance, year by year, decade by decade. Standards get higher for accredited zoos through the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And so in Cincinnati, we're fortunate to have a lot of new things that we've done. Even during the pandemic, as Jill said, we were able to open new exhibits like our Roo Valley Kangaroo in Australia exhibit, which is just terrific. You're right in there with 9 great big gray and red kangaroos, and also in a wonderful little penguin exhibit, the smallest penguin species in the world, and seeing them. We also opened a new African penguin exhibit called African Penguin Point. And just this week, we're opening our Kanga climb high ropes course. I know many of you have been to Camp Joy, so you know what high ropes courses are like. And this is a terrific one. We had the group Beanstalk build it for us. They built some of the best climbing structures in the country. And it was able to be opened a year ago, but with the pandemic, we didn't. And so it's opening now, and it was a lot of fun. I've done it, and it's lots of different levels of challenges. And it's a chance for people to have an adventure at the zoo while maybe some of the families eating lunch, kids and others are doing it. Although, what's funny, we offered a sort of preview climb to our board, and about half of our board came and climbed it, a number of whom were my age or older. So anybody can do it. So it's a lot of fun. Those kinds of things, we try to stretch out, if you will, kind of our audience. Families might come, when a child's young in a stroller, 4 or 5 years old, they come to the zoo, they do what their mom tells them. They eventually get into, say, zoo camp, where you can have kids just have a great experience in the summer. But maybe by the time they become teenagers, they wouldn't want to come as much. So the zoo has to always figure out how to pay our bills. So where we have opportunities to add a revenue opportunity, like a climbing structure or a beer garden, which is next door, we do. And that, of course, helps us defray costs, because to build, bigger and better exhibits often adds expense. So we have to figure out how to balance those out.
Thane, thank you. It goes without saying that we would love to continue this conversation for another hour. There is no end to the fun things you have either already happening at the zoo, or we can see the wheels turning up here. As a Cincinnati kid who grew up coming to the zoo as a little person, and now bringing my son, and we're zoo members, the world of change that the zoo exposes us to, not just the animals, but as you've talked, learning about sustainability, learning about the greater implications of a lot of this is just really so critical and life-changing for so many kids. So thank you for continuing to keep Cincinnati as yours, but keeping us on the map with just a phenomenal zoo and botanical garden that can't be competed with in so many ways. And thank you most especially for your chamber membership and for taking the time to be with us this morning. I encourage everybody, if you are not a zoo member, do it. It is a ton of fun. Yes, I have a kid, but I love to go to the zoo just as much. As Thane said, there are beer gardens, but there's just a whole world to discover there. And it is a real gem right in the middle of our city. So thank you, Thane, for being with us. And we will look forward to more antics and more animals moving ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thomas, I believe the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jill. My name is Thomas Deere. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Engagement here at the Chamber. I'm excited to start my second month at the Chamber. I have met many of you, and I look forward to meeting many more in the upcoming days and weeks. I do encourage you, if you have any questions in the meantime or feedback on how we at the Chamber can create more value for you, you can reach me at 513-383-4008, and that number will be shown later in the presentation. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce 4 Chamber members implementing significant initiatives to connect and grow our local economy. You're going to hear from Heidi Latour from Cloverleaf, Allison Linkhart from FC Cincinnati, Kim Kern from the Children's Theater of Cincinnati, and Jenny Watts from WJWatts Consulting. Kicking off, or I should say, leading off, will be one of our newest members, Cloverleaf. Many of us have taken or heard of assessments such as DISC, strengths, or the Enneagram. They often provide insight about part of us, but never give the whole encompassing picture. Enter Cloverleaf. Cloverleaf is an organization that uses these assessments and other behavioral tools to provide insights into team effectiveness and providing customized coaching to improve performance. Here at the Chamber, I was excited to find that we use Cloverleaf as well as we do as well in our leadership programs. In both, we have created larger and smaller teams to better understand our gaps, our strength, to find conversation starters, and why there might be challenges. We have also integrated Cloverleaf into our calendars, allowing us to see insights to anyone we're having an internal meeting with. For example, today, it popped up on my screen, my meetings that I'm going to have today and who I'll meet with, and the individual strengths and weaknesses and things that I need to be concerned with. It's a fantastic tool to help get integrated into a team. Heidi Latour is here to tell us more about Cloverleaf. Welcome, Heidi.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I have been just gracious to be a part of the Cloverleaf team for a year now, and I just love our product and excited to share it with you all as well. Just a couple of things about Cloverleaf. So why use Cloverleaf? Tom already alluded to some of the interesting things. I actually, you were talking about how the Chamber uses it. If your profile is public, you're able to see others maybe that aren't even in your organization. So since the Chamber is on here and I had this meeting on my calendar this morning, a little tidbit that came through for Jill was the team can count on Jill to speak up for what is right and good. And I thought that was really interesting considering we talked about the issue that happened this year, and you could tell she was passionate about that. So some of these are a little, we get a lot of feedback saying, wow, this is kind of creepy how well you know me. Are you watching me? I promise we are not. We just have some great assessments with some great insights. So why Cloverleaf? Well, our mission is to unleash people to do their best work. And we really live and die by that mission statement. And to make every team a thriving team. You know, our tagline, it always is to say, you know, imagine the best team you are on and how much you enjoyed that. How do you replicate that? And that's what we work on every day. So our business started about 3 years ago. We're still a startup. So we still have a lot of growing to do. We've actually doubled in size in the last year. So we're really excited to be growing. And we're based out of Covington, Kentucky. We are definitely true to Cincinnati. There's not very many software companies that come out of Cincinnati, and we're proud to be one of them. So the problem that we're trying to solve is, you know, conflict, poor communication, so on and so forth. As much as 1/3 of managers' time are spent on conflicts. So those of you that are managers, you're probably going, yeah, I totally can feel this. And poor communication, 69% of managers are uncomfortable with having communication with their employees, which no one likes to have those awkward conversations. And then, you know, the list goes on and on and on. So we try our best to make sure that we're helping not only managers, but employees have those conversations with managers as well. So what is our product? So like Tom alluded to, our product is, it takes up to 10 assessments that we have access to. You take the assessment online and it gives you those insights. Not only, a lot of times folks take these assessments and they get this great binder of information about themselves. And they're like, wow, this is really great. And you have this session with your team and you share results and you're looking at each other's binders like, oh, that's so true. And then the next day you put that binder on your desk, maybe on a shelf or in a drawer. And that's the last time you've looked at it for, I don't know, a year or so. Basically, what Cloverleaf tries to do is take that binder of information and not only shares it with yourself on a regular basis, but also with your teammates to help with that communication and just help with just overall productivity and so on and so forth. Like Tom also mentioned, you can tie it with your calendar. And so we have integration with Microsoft Teams and Slack. You can pull information right there, so you're not having to go into another dashboard, another tool. I think even at Cloverleaf, we are a tool. We have a lot of tools that we use. And so we understand that that's not always something that you want to have to go into. So hopefully you can just then see it in your everyday life. And it's not an extra step for you to take. And you're getting those insights about you and a teammate that will help you guys grow as a team and help with that communication, and hopefully help with productivity and raise those revenue numbers as well. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about Cloverleaf, you are actually able to go to our website, www.cloverleaf.me. You can take free assessments, and you can create a free profile and a free team of 5. So feel free to log on, check it out, and then contact me, Heidi Latire, at Cloverleaf, and happy to answer any questions.
I can attest, as one of the newest members on the team here at the Chamber, it was so insightful learning about not only myself, but also the team members that I'm working with. It just made the learning curve so much quicker and so much smoother. And it's really a neat tool, and I've just hit a very small piece of it. So thank you, Heidi.
Mm-hmm.
Next, I would like to introduce FC Cincinnati. They've been a Chamber member since 2015 and is one of the hottest tickets in town. In 2016, FC Cincinnati began playing the United Soccer League. In 2018, Major League Soccer awarded expansion team to the FC Cincinnati ownership group, and they have now moved into, if you haven't seen it, the incredible TQL Stadium, the crown jewel of Cincinnati, located in the West End. TQL Stadium has many spectacular amenities, and Allison Linkhart is here to tell you about it. Welcome, Allison.
Thank you, and thank you all for having me. As he mentioned, I am in currently TQL Stadium, the newest home to FC Cincinnati. We officially had our ribbon cutting on May 1st, but they are still painting literally on the other side of the wall from me. So we are putting the finishing touches. We're considering kind of our grand opening, although we've had 2 games already, to really be our June 19th game here, when we'll be at near capacity or full capacity. So the first 2 games were limited to season ticket holders. As we speak here, tickets will be going on sale at 9 a.m. today for individual tickets, now that we can open up the stadium to the community. So we're really excited to actually get people in the doors and see the space. So if you have joined us already for the first 2 games or taken any private tours, you'll know how spectacular some of these spaces are. They're all brand new. The architect on the project was Populous. They've done some of the grandest stadiums in the world. Ours in Cincinnati being one of them. So a couple of great features here at the stadium. We have about 10 different event spaces that we will be renting for businesses, personal use, anything not on a game day. So those spaces are available to anyone as long as there's not a home game when the team is here. I just wanted to show, if you don't mind if I share my screen, show a brief video from our fin lighting. Some of you may have already seen it. The stadium is one of only 2 buildings in the world that have these LED fins around the outside of the building. There's 513 segments, obviously related to 513, around the building that light up towards the Central Parkway side. So let me just show you a little bit of this. This is just a kind of a taste of some of the technology that's been kind of installed into the building. And if hopefully everyone can hear that. So yeah, so as you could probably see from the video, we're located right in the West End, right on Central Parkway. You can see Union Terminal behind us to the west. Sorry, let me stop this from playing again. So you can see Union Terminal to the west of us. That is a view from a lot of different of our event spaces have both internal stadium views looking out into the field or the pitch. And then also others have looking out to the west side of the building and that beautiful city skyline and Union Terminal skyline. So the stadium also features a 360-degree canopy. So all the seats, as we were talking about the Reds game being rained out yesterday, all of our seats are 100% covered by that canopy. So all of them are dry unless you have a field side seat next to the team. Those get a little bit wet, but excited to be here. And like I said, just now have people in the building for the first time and see all the hard work that went in behind the scenes to get to this point. So if you have any questions about the spaces or the stadium in general, just feel free to message me in the chat and I can kind of get your email address and send you some additional information. But thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Allison. Very impressive. Next up, much like FC Cincinnati, this group has one of the hottest tickets in town as well. The Children's Theater of Cincinnati. The Children's Theater of Cincinnati has been chamber member since 2001, and Kim Kern is a graduate of our We Lead program. Class 4 to be specific, correct, Kim?
Correct.
The mission of the Children's Theater is to educate, entertain, and engage audiences of all ages through professional theatrical productions and arts education programs. They opened their doors in 1919. I think Thane mentioned that was the last time that the zoo was closed. That's right. They're in their 102nd season. Amazing. The Children's Theater of Cincinnati is the oldest professional theater for young audiences in the country and currently one of the only performing arts organizations in town offering live socially distanced programming. The Children's Theater recently received recognition from the Telly Award for the Velveteen Rabbit under the category for directing of online content. Kim Kern is here to tell us more about the Children's Theater of Cincinnati. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be here. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. You did that better than I could have. And thank you also for saying that we are the oldest professional theater for young audiences in the country. That is something that I like to point out. First and foremost, I think there is still sometimes the misconception that we are an organization that puts children on the stage. We are in fact a professional theater company, just like Playhouse in the Park or Ensemble or Cincy Shakes. It is in fact our audience that are children. And you can see here on this slide a couple examples of some of the main stage productions that we have put on. We see 102,000 people annually downtown. Of course, that is pre and now hopefully post-pandemic numbers. And we are very, very cognizant of keeping prices affordable for families. You can still attend one of our productions for less than the cost of a movie. And the most expensive seat in the house is $35 for our public shows. And for our school shows, and we see 60,000 kids a year at our school shows, no school ever pays more than $8 a ticket. And if you are a school that has 50% or more of your students eligible for free or reduced lunch programs, you pay significantly less as well. Our goal is to provide access to live theater for everyone who wants to enjoy it. We also have what we call our TCT on Tour division. We tour 5 to 7 productions annually, different from our main stage shows with very little crossover in attendance. Typically schools that are unable to attend our main stage performances, usually for reasons of transportation, will book a live tour to come to their school instead. We also go to community centers and libraries. We see an additional about 50,000 children a year through this touring division. And these productions are really tied into school curricula, whether it's literature and fairy tales or history, art, math, you name it. Typically we have a production that complements whatever curricula the school might have going on at the time. And we tour mostly in the greater Cincinnati region. but we have gone as far as Maryland and Georgia. Our third division is our Tct Academy, and this is where we do in fact put children on the stage. We have classes and private lessons available for children ages 2 through 18. We have a STAR intensive program in the summer that is about to happen. We're thrilled to be able to offer that in person again this year at summer camps and spring break camps. We have a lot of students that have attended our academy that go on to wonderful careers. One example being a young woman by the name of Raven Thomas, who trained with us in our STAR program and had her professional debut on our main stage. And she, come this September, as Broadway reopens, will be Angelica Schuyler in the touring production of Hamilton. So we are thrilled to see those sort of success stories. When the pandemic hit, like every theater in the country, we had to very quickly change our model. We had to completely cancel our last show at the Taft Theater and completely reimagine this past season, as the limited capacity at the Taft would not have been financially responsible for us. So what we did instead was found a whole host of new productions that we either had the streaming rights to or that were ours that we owned. We put those on in our small theater. We did get a 30% capacity variance from the Ohio Department of Health and the City Department of Health, but that still led to only a whopping 44 seats in our theater. We did have people attend throughout the season. It was wonderful to be able to offer those live performances, but we also had a partnership with Broadway On Demand, filmed those productions, and we're offer them globally we had people from Scotland that tuned in. We also pre-recorded all of our productions so that actors weren't actually speaking or singing on the stage to keep our audience and our actors safe. And as you saw in that past slide, very briefly, we incorporated masks into all of our costumes to, again, keep everybody safe. We also had a partnership with Cincinnati State. Their film students used our productions as a capstone project and created what we called Pick a Path productions, where through a software system called Echo, we were actually able to film different iterations of our productions, and the students were asked questions along the way and allowed to literally push a button to make choices as to the direction of the program. So rather than just watching something, they were actually able to interact with the production themselves. And I think we have a video next that will give you a little sample of what one of those Pick a Path productions looks like. So we were very pleased to have weathered the storm, so to speak. I think we are one of the only arts organizations in town that did not have to furlough or lay off any staff. We are often referred to as Cincinnati's best kept secret, and we don't want to be referred to that anymore. And we have had quite a bit of growth even through the pandemic and have had some national recognition. We collaborated with DC Comics, Tams Whitmark, and Charles Strauss to reimagine the original production of It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman, which is now available throughout the world for licensing as originally produced by the Children's Theater of Cincinnati. We received the Sarah Spencer Child Drama Award, which is a national award given by SETC. We collaborated with NBC Universal to adapt their production of Casper into Casper the Friendly Musical. And we even received some attention from the Kelly Clarkson show for our production of Annie Jr., which was the last production we were able to offer live at the Taft Theater before everything shut down. So we are thrilled to be putting Cincinnati on the map, so to speak, and being a destination for families and children, not just in the region, but throughout the country. And we hope to continue to do so for another 102 years.
We're so fortunate to have so many entertainment opportunities in this region. It is just absolutely outstanding. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Next up, I'd like to introduce WJWatts Consulting. They've been a chamber member since 2011. WJWatts Consulting is a custom software development firm delivering high-quality software via excellent execution using industry-leading technologies. They strive to offer the best possible service, working closely with clients to understand their problems and identify solutions. Jenny Watts is here to tell us more about WJWatts Consulting. Welcome, Jenny.
Thanks, Thomas. Yes, I want to tell you guys just a little bit more about us and the services that we provide, as well as tell you about a couple of the projects we've been working on, and most importantly, how we can help you. So WJWatts is a husband and wife team. I am originally from West Virginia, and my husband, Bill, is originally from Indiana. So we're both transplants, but collectively we've called Cincinnati home for over 20 years. And as Thomas said, we've been chamber members since 2011 and have participated in lots of chamber events, as well as festivals the chamber's involved in. And I'm an alumnus of Sea Change Class 11. So a little bit about our services. As Thomas said, we're a custom software company. We also offer project management. I'm a certified PMP. So what is custom software? It's software that we create based specifically on your business needs to help you do your business processes. We also do data analytics. So a lot of times companies will have a lot of data that they need to review and look at. So we help them build reports so they can make sense of all that data. And with project management, that's when we oversee projects from start to finish. So a couple of our most recent projects with customer management, we have a local construction company that was managing all of their employee and projects in Excel, and they needed a better way to do that. And this is something we see a lot where companies have started in Excel and they've grown and they need a more robust real-time way to do that. So we replaced Excel with a live software system and database. And now it's web-based, which means it works across all devices and it's in real time, and managers can track and see changes as employees are working on it. Sales execution, this was an example. We worked with a publishing company to offer our project management services. They were bringing a new product to the higher ed market and needed help from start to finish. So we worked with a variety of teams and saw that project through. And data analytics, we have a local flooring company here in Cincinnati that is using a very old database, but had a lot of important information in there that they needed to access. So we built reports for them using Microsoft Power BI. So how can we help you? Most companies are using software to do their day-to-day needs. So we are local and dedicated. If you work with us, you really get to work with us, not someone 1,000 miles away. Our products are built to your specifications, so they should be a perfect fit for you and your employees. They're different and they'll help you innovate. So they'll make you stand out from your competitors. And it's easy to use. Since you're a part of the process and we're building it for you, it should be seamless to use it. And then no license fees. A lot of our clients will look at Salesforce or another off-the-shelf product, but are turned off by all of the annual costs. And the functionality isn't a great fit for them, or it has a lot of things they don't need, or some that they do. So you won't have any of that if you go the custom software route. So if you'd like to connect with us and learn more, please visit our website at WJWattsConsulting.com. Thank you.
It's truly amazing how many businesses do operate in Excel, and it's just fraught. It's a great tool, but there's so much potential for error. So thank you for that information. I want to thank these 4 members for being part of our second monthly member briefing. If you are interested in being part of an upcoming monthly member monthly member briefing, please go to cincinnatiChamber.com/monthly member briefings and submit an interest form, or you can reach out to me at 513-383-4008. And to everyone on the call, I want to thank each of you for your partnership and chamber membership. If you know of anybody who could benefit by joining the Cincinnati Chamber family, please let me know. And I can be reached at, I think Spencer will put this number up, 513-383-4008. And now I'm going to turn it over to Katie Egan. Katie.
Thomas, thank you so much. Good morning. It's great to be with all of you. I just wanted to give a brief rundown of what we saw happen in earlier, well, I guess it's June now, at the beginning of May with the mayoral primary. And some of you may have attended the mayoral forum that we hosted in April, when we invited the 6 candidates that were on the ballot for mayor to come with us, or to join with us and join with our members and have some questions and priority issues of our members addressed. And we had 5 of the mayoral candidates participate in that. This is a race that we will continue to be involved in as it progresses, council races as well, because these elected officials really help set the pace and the tone for not only what's happening in the city of Cincinnati, but that obviously has ripple effects throughout our region as well. So coming out of the May primary, Aftab Piraval, who currently serves as the Hamilton County Clerk of Courts, and current City Council member David Mann advanced, they will be advancing to November. And those gentlemen picked up between them, so this is in a 6-person race, between the 2 of them, they picked up about 70% of the vote. So they will head off or run off against one another in November. And when you look at the turnout in this race, it was almost 16% of the voters in the city of Cincinnati turned out to vote. That seems very, very low, but it was actually the 2nd highest voter turnout rate in the city of Cincinnati since Cincinnati switched to a strong mayor form of government. So if you are a resident in the city of Cincinnati, please, please, please plan to vote in November. These races are of utmost importance. There were also 3 ballot initiatives or charter amendments that were on the ballot as well. And looking at the number of votes that were cast in the issue race versus the mayoral race, it was very clear that those issues were what really turned voters out and brought them out to the ballot. This was a pretty quiet runoff race. It was a pretty quiet primary, but we don't expect things to be so quiet leading up to November. Expect some fireworks. Those will probably start sometime after Labor Day, when voters really start looking to the fall and start paying attention. And here's a map where you can kind of see the dark blue color are the precincts that were won by Aftab Piraval, and the lighter blue, kind of the cerulean color, are the precincts that were won by David Mann. So you see Aftab kind of took the center of the city, and David Mann really won the precincts out to the far east and west of the city of Cincinnati. So now that there are only going to be 2 candidates on the ballot, it'll be interesting to see how that map looks coming out of November, and who can pick up those precincts that were won by some of the other candidates in this race. So as I said, we will be hosting a mayoral debate coming this fall. We're working with a media partner right now, and you can expect some information to come about registration for that event later in the summer. And obviously council races are on the top of everyone's mind. There at this point are dozens of candidates who have picked up petitions to run for Cincinnati City Council. Those will be, the deadline to file those petitions is in early August. So we'll know then exactly who's going to be on the ballot. There are 5 incumbent members of council that are going to be running to retain their seats. And in the city of Cincinnati, the top 9 vote getters win. So you don't really need that high of a percentage of votes. You just need to finish in the top 9. So there's a little bit of political strategy there about, if you work with an endorsed ticket, and if you partner with other candidates to really run together and try to block some other candidates from winning. But you'll continue to see analysis on this race, the mayor's race, council races, other local races as we get closer to November. and be sure to keep an eye out for registration for a mayoral debate. One quick other event that we have coming up, our DC fly-in is scheduled to start on June 14th. It'll run from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock each morning, June 14th through 18th. We are keeping it virtual again this year, but there is an in-person networking opportunity the evening of Wednesday, June 16th, and we are going to be at TQL Stadium, a great chance to see that beautiful space that we heard about earlier. Come join us, network with your fellow chamber members, and have a chance to interact with DC policymakers, Senators Brown and Portman, Congressman Wenstrup, Shabbat, and Davidson, among so many others that we are really excited to bring to our members, a lot of DC policymakers that you'll be really excited to hear from. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Katie. The Cincinnati Regional Chamber has a total of 10 benefit partners who offer ways to save you money on an everyday base business expenses and enhance your business. Today, we have Monica Colbert, consumer engagement professional with Humana, as our featured cost savings partner. Humana is a strong legacy partner. They provide competitive medical, dental, vision, life, and wellness product to our member companies through our Chamber Health program. Humana strives to be the leading health and well-being company focused on making it easy for people to achieve their best health through a coordinated care approach. Members located in Ohio can save up to 20% on health insurance with Chamber Health and Humana's Go 365 Health and Wellness program. It's my pleasure to welcome Monica Colbert.
Thank you so much for that introduction. You did such a great job explaining our product. I really appreciate that. So I'm here just to talk to you quickly about the many benefits that we do offer for chamber members. And as you can see on the next slide, there's many benefits for choosing chamber health insurance through Humana. Fully insured plans will receive a 1.4% discount on premiums. A 5% discount is given for level funded premiums and on hand plans. And a 5% discount is also given on dental, vision, and life plans, with even more savings when the services are bundled. Our dental plans offer a 2-year rates plus a preventative max waiver, which waives preventative services from accumulating toward the annual max. Big rewards are available when the companies focus on the health and well-being of their employees by encouraging engagement with Go 365. As employees complete preventative health activities, they increase their Go 365 status from blue to bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. When an employee achieves silver status, a 7% wellness engagement and credit incentive credit is applied to the monthly premium. Upon reaching gold or platinum, a 15% wellness engagement incentive credit is awarded. These premium credits will appear on the monthly invoice, and the benefits are available to fully insured and level funded premium businesses with 2 to 99 eligible employees. So next, I would like to just take a few minutes to give you an idea of the benefit offered by Humana's EAP service and just share some information from one of their recent presentations that you can take with you throughout your day. Stress in the workplace is nothing new, but it seems like a very relevant topic right now. And I just want to give you some information on what you can do as a leader to help your staff. Stress is felt at any given workplace on any given day. And these feelings may have started at home, on the commute, with an interaction between a coworker or a customer, or maybe when a new assignment was given to them. With the addition of the global pandemic that we're just coming out of, it's no surprise that stress levels are at an unprecedented high. Stress can present in many ways, and people may feel emotions, including feeling overwhelmed and anxious and irritable and worried and powerless. When a certain amount of stress is necessary to help part of daily life, it becomes detrimental and dangerous when the level of stresses are increased for long periods of time. And physically and emotionally healthy workforce is necessary for efficient and a thriving workplace. As a leader, it's beneficial to be on the lookout of some of these signs of an unhealthy amount of stress among your staff. And you might notice some of these warning signs. And you don't have to be a mental health professional to help someone who's struggling. Trust your instincts and don't assume someone else will step in to help. Don't try to diagnose them, but maybe take them aside to ask just how they're doing. And simply showing your concern and providing some resources that can help might be all that you need to do. And it's important to take care of yourself so you're able to take care of others. Situations are continuing to change daily, but just try to create some sort of routine to provide structure and stability to your day. Many of us spend more time with coworkers than our family or friends, so leverage those relationships to create a supportive network to encourage one another. Be sure to practice self-care by doing activities that bring you joy. Be active, drink water throughout your day, meditate, get enough rest, and take some time off. Monitor your self-talk and keep it positive. And take advantage of the EAP and the workplace programs that might be available to you. With many Humana Chamber plans, the Humana EAP and work-life services are included. These services are available to everyone in the company and not limited to those on the health plan. Services are available 24/7 and include a vast library of educational materials, telephonic assessments of needs, guidance on next steps, and referrals to Humana benefits as well as community services. The topics range from anything to vacation planning to legal services, depression, anxiety. Huge amount of information included in our EAP. It offers help for the whole person and is one of the valuable benefits that Humana will offer to your group. Thank you so much for having me today to talk a little bit about the benefits that Humana does offer to Chamber members.
Fantastic. Thank you, Monica and Humana, for your continued partnership with the Cincinnati Chamber. We look forward to many more years to come. Thank you. Spencer, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, that works great. Thank you, Thomas. And thank you to everyone that joined us this morning. Special shout out to Thane Maynard and the Cincinnati Zoo for being our keynote. I'd also love to thank all of the members that have joined us and presented their business. Heidi from Cloverleaf, Allison from FC Cincinnati, Kim from the Children's Theater of Cincinnati, and Jenny from WJWatts Consulting. You have an opportunity to be featured on our next member showcase. I dropped the link in the chat to apply. And our next member showcase will be Thursday, July 1st, same time, 8 to 9 a.m. with our keynote, Paula Boggs-Muthing, the city manager from the city of Cincinnati. So we would love to have you there. And these member briefings are recorded, so you can circle back and check out what we have done in the past and see that. But I, again, thank you all for being with us this morning. I know we're a little over time, so I'm going to just be short and sweet. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week and a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you again on Thursday, July 1st.